and welcome to Styles by Summer. I'm Summer. We are going to be creating some beautiful face framing layers for today's tutorial. We're going to be taking this long layered haircut and adding in a shorter face frame to give movement through the front to create more texture while also shortening up and blending the layers in the back. And it's a side part, let's go. Okay, so to do this haircut, you would wanna part your hair whatever side you wear it on. I am gonna be doing a side part. So I have that done, and what we're gonna do first is create our sectioning, because sectioning is always key. And we're just gonna come and split right at the ear. And I'm actually gonna be doing the face frame first and then creating my layers in the back. So I'm just splitting right at the ear, and for now I'm just gonna clip this back out of the way, and I'm gonna repeat on the other side. So we have her sectioned off front to back, and as you can see, it's very long here in the front. There's not a lot of shape. This was an original long layered haircut tutorial that I'll leave linked below. That way you guys can check out what it looked like before. But we don't have a lot of shape through the front. We have some length, but what we're gonna be doing is really cutting into this, creating lots of movement that's gonna flow back into our length, and then we're gonna create our layers in the back after we have created our face frame. So to set our guide, what you're gonna wanna do, that's the first most important part of your face frame, is I'm gonna come in little triangles. This has sort of been like a theme with some of my last haircuts, but we're gonna base it off of that brow line to set our guide first. So I'm gonna come in on the other side. So I'm right at that brow line. And then this is gonna be how we set our guide. So I'm gonna base this off of if the client wants to be able to tuck their hair behind their ears. So what I literally do is I take the shortest, what will be the shortest piece, and I'm gonna bring it back towards the ear and see where we're at to kind of give me an idea. So I'm tucking here. So that's gonna be right about her lip area. So I'm gonna leave it a little bit longer at first to play it safe. You can always go back in and cut it shorter. If you are cutting your hair on your own at home, always start off with it longer, because once it's gone, it's gone. So I'm just gonna take my two front pieces of my what will be bang section, and we're gonna come in. I'm gonna do it right at her chin just because they do shrink up a little bit. And like I said, we can go shorter. I've got it nice and flat, and I'm gonna twist once, keep it flat, twist twice. That was a mouthful. And then because this is a side part, I'm keeping it center to where the actual part line is. I'm not bringing it over to the middle of the face as if it were a middle part. You wanna keep it centered to where your part is. So we've got it center from her part, and I'm coming right at her chin, and I'm point cutting into that. We're gonna let that out now. And then just see, cut into the other side if they're not lining up perfect. The twist is just a nice way to keep your guide a little bit more even, especially when you're doing it on your own at home. So this is gonna go back over, and I'm gonna actually create my face framing first on our side swept, and then I'll do this other side. And then what's nice about the face frame that we're gonna create for this cut is that when you go to style your hair, you're gonna be able to get a lot more bounce in your hair overall when you go to blow dry your hair. And before we start the face frame, I wanna thank Tymo for sponsoring today's video. You guys know that I love several of their products, and they just came out with a new dryer, the Air Hype Light. I am such a blow dry junkie. I could not wait to try this out. They took the beloved Air Hype and condensed it down to a more affordable option without sacrificing the quality. We're talking below $100, that's all. This has 4 temperature settings ranging from 80 to 210 degrees Fahrenheit and 3 airflow speed settings as well. With its speed and power, you have the option to dry your hair at a lower heat level, but you will still be able to get your hair dry in ample time, meaning you will get an amazing quick blowout without compromising your hair health. My favorite setting is medium heat, right at 180 degrees, and on high speed, which can be done by pushing the 2 buttons located on the front of the dryer. My favorite thing about the dryer is how lightweight it is. The weight or lack thereof holds up to its name, but they did not sacrifice performance and speed. I don't worry about my arms feeling weighed down when drying my own hair, nor will I be later in this video when I use it to dry all of this mannequin's hair. I am always left with a lovely blow dry each time I use this because of the power and speed of this dryer. The Timeout Air Hive can be found linked below along with the discount code that makes this dryer even more affordable. Thank you again to Timeout for sponsoring this video, as sponsorships are a very important way for me to be able to grow this channel, and I never promote a product I don't truly love. Let's get back to cutting. Okay, so to blend this in, I don't wanna push the hair too much forward. I wanna keep it laying how it naturally would lay, so that way I get the best angle for my face frame. So as you can see here, I've got the hair, it's combed more straight down. I'm not combing it down forward. So we're just gonna go in small sections. If you've watched any of my videos, I always do small sections. Small sections are key. And I'm just gonna take a little bit at a time, kind of doing that whole triangle vibe. Okay, so I'm gonna come in here with this first section, and we're combing down with it, and I'm just gonna follow my guide, and I'm gonna twist my fingers pointing down. And I'm just coming in from my longer point here and cutting right up into it. And then I'm gonna nip off this corner just a little bit slightly from my guide. And then we're gonna take more hair. Push that hair back you don't need. Come in, twist down, follow our guide. I see it right there. Cut up into it. And I keep my scissors at a light angle too while I cut. Next section. So you can see here, we're already losing a lot of length. So we're gonna get nice swooping all through our face frame. Angle down. I'm coming in from my longest point here at my fingers, and I'm blending up into those shorter pieces. And so we're gonna repeat these same steps until we get through to this back area, and then we're gonna blend in our length after we do our other side. And then you can even come in and sliver if you want. It's all personal preference. I tend to do a mix of both. Our last little piece here. And that is looking lovely. We've got a nice flow going down, and you can see how much more length that removed. So lots more shape and movement. So now what we're gonna do is blend in this other side, and then we're gonna start working on our back layers. Yeah, she can still swoop those bangs behind her ear when she's gonna need to. Coming in. I'm keeping my hands at an angle here. They're in a lightly different position, but I'm still angling them. I see my guide up here, and I'm just gonna sliver down with my shears to blend that in. More hair. Take 2 more sections here for our face frame. And again, remember, sections are key. You don't want to do anything too big. If you're cutting on your own at home, always start off with it longer. You can always shorten it after the fact. And we have just our little tail here. Nice and easy to cut off. So what I'll do at this point before moving into our back layers, I'm gonna turn her center here. You can come in and check to see how your face frame is lining up. If you need to nip, like that little guy needs to come off. And when you're checking your face frame, we'll get into this a little bit later, but you're gonna be basing it off of the center part, not the center of the face. I'll remind you guys about that in a minute, but this is looking good. I'm gonna cut the layers in the back because then we'll have to adjust this a little bit. But now the bulk of that is done, and that also will help determine our shorter pieces in the back. So we're letting this out. And again, I'm not cutting any length. I don't know if I stated that at the beginning or not, but we're not cutting any length. We're just adding the layers in. And so what I'm gonna do is we're gonna start off by layering kind of this middle section first and then working our way back. So I'm gonna come in right in the ear region. So just lightly, barely in front of the ear. And I'm gonna grab my first section, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna create our first layer using basically the guide of where our length is now from our face frame. So we're gonna come up. I see this is the guide from our old face frame. So you're letting basically the perimeter fall out, and then we're just cutting into that, and I'm just point cutting. So these are still gonna be long layers, but shorter than what this mannequin started out with. They were very, very long layers beforehand. And then when I get to the very top, I just lightly will angle my fingers to soften that up. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go all the way around the head. I'm gonna go to about the center of the back of the head here, and then I will start working from the other side around. And I am angling back ever so slightly. Let your perimeter fall so you're not compromising your length and weight there, because you still want to maintain as much thickness as possible. And you're just going to follow your guide. As long as you're taking small enough sections where you can always see through to your guide, it's really easy to cut. It's not too difficult. So that's why I always stress sectioning, never too big of sections. See that guide. And this is a traveling guide. So we're working our way around the head. I see my guide in there, cut. We're gonna come take our middle section here. A lot of hair. Come up. Let that guide fall, your perimeter fall. Cut. So we have our first half of the hair done, so we're creating a little bit more movement. Our shortest piece is brought up. That's actually quite a bit of length there to bring much more movement through here that's gonna blend so lovely with those face framing layers. Okay, so we're gonna come in on this other side now to create our layers the same as before, coming in at that ear point. Your shorter piece here is gonna help determine how much layer you are creating. That falls out, keeping your weight and perimeter here, and cut. And just work your way back towards the center. As you move into your back layers, your guide's almost gonna become more of like you want this whole perimeter to fall out to ensure you're keeping that length and weight. But it also falls in line too with the guide you've created with your layers. I feel like I'm explaining that so bizarrely to you guys. Hopefully you understand what I mean. But because you're creating shorter layers throughout here, your length obviously at the bottom is going to fall out because it's not gonna match. It's not gonna over direct that far because there's not enough length. We've got like 2 more sections here. I see my guide, cut. And then remember, I'm lightly angling at my top layer just to create a little bit more softness. Just that last little bit. Okay, so much more shape, much more movement back here. And now what I'm gonna do is we're gonna come in and create some more layers throughout our face frame just to help remove too much like bulk and weight, especially on the side where you part it to. It gets really heavy in here anytime you do face framing. So we're just gonna soften that up by doing our layers, which I'm gonna do them similar to how I always do them. I do them 2 different ways. It also helps to cross check. So I'm gonna spritz her down again. Now that I'm back to the side, we'll just do this side first. So separating in that ear region and in the front, we're just gonna take our first section, fine side of your comb, and we're just gonna come all the way forward with it and lightly, lightly twist. And you're just gonna create some soft layers in that face frame to break up a little bit of weight. Come forward, twisting. All of that hair falls, and we're cutting this. This is actually, I have a lot of favorite haircuts, I feel like, but this is one of my more favorite. I love like longer hair with tons of movement. It's ideal to have like thicker hair for this type of haircut. It doesn't have to be like crazy coarse and thick, but this haircut looks best with somebody with a lot of hair, but it just, I'm envious. I will be so envious of this mannequin's hair when I'm done with it. I say that all the time, but I truly mean it. So we're back to our other side, separating here at the ear. You guys have heard enough of my rambling. And we're gonna do the same thing. So I'm starting at the front, coming over, fine side of my comb, coming forward, twisting, and just nipping in to create some layers and softness. Next piece. You're gonna come forward with it, twist, nip. Okay, and then so what I'm gonna do really quickly here to check the back, gonna separate at her ear here and comb all of this forward, right at that tip of the ear. So essentially go back to that original face framing sectioning you had. And I'm just gonna come directly across the back here. And we're just gonna take some bigger sections. And we're just gonna come straight up with it. So straight up, and we're just gonna even out any little pieces that are longer. I sometimes still like to keep like a slight angle going in and angle going out. That's just me personally. You can cut it straight across if you want, but just to make sure the top is nice and soft. And then before we dry, I'm just gonna skim through again in bigger sections. And what I'm basically doing at this point with her layers is just sort of softening it up because there's so much hair here. Just coming in, still letting that perimeter fall, and just point cutting into it. And you can wait to do this part if you want once it's dry. That's all personal preference. Okay, so at this point, you could come in and check the face framing before you do the blow dry. I feel pretty confident that she's lining up nicely, that I'm not too worried about it if I have to like perfect anything after it gets dried. And then for her blow dry, I am going to use IGK's Beach Club Bouncy Blowout Cream. This is gonna give me some volume as well as heat protection. And then just because I love this product, it is the L'Oreal Prolonger. This is just a nice overall product when styling the hair. And then of course, I am using the Tymo Air Hype Light. This comes with a single magnetic concentrator attachment, so you are gonna get a nice precision blowout, and I'm gonna use medium heat and the highest speed. I'm also gonna be using a medium-sized round brush to create my bend and shape along with my blow dry. The bigger the brush, the smoother result you're gonna get, and the smaller the brush, the more bend throughout the ends you're going to achieve. Okay, so we've got her dried in style. She's looking pretty fab, if I say so myself. So what I wanna do now is just connect to see if there's anything from this face framing that needs to connect to the back length. Honestly, I should have done that when the hair was still wet, but that's what dry cutting is for. And so you can learn from my mistake. Not that it's a mistake, as long as you do it is really all that matters. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna come in at the ear here, back to that original face framing parting. And really all you're gonna do is continue to act like you're face framing down. You're basically just gonna be bringing the hair down and kind of like towards you to keep extending that face frame. So you can see the length gets a little long right in here. So we're just gonna literally take a section and just keep blending in from our face frame down into that length. And we're gonna do that on both sides. So I'm just slightly slivering. You're trying to just connect it. You don't wanna necessarily take more weight out or too much length. And you're just gonna continue to pull hair towards you from that back section and just keep angling that hair down until basically you don't have any more hair to blend in. You'll probably be done after this next piece. Perfect. And then we're gonna do the same on the other side. I mean, so much more movement. I love it. So you're gonna come in basically right behind the ear is where you're gonna start. Pull that hair down, stand in front of the client, and just connect those pieces in. And what that does is it creates a nice flow going into the back. All that little hair there. And our last piece. Perfect. And then to check your face frame, again, you wanna remember this is off of a side part. So what I like to do is I adjust checking my face frame to be centered to where the part is, not center of the face. So you're gonna come over, bring pieces down, nip what needs to be taken up. So we have a little bit more length just right in here. So I'm just literally gonna pull my piece down, see where I need to take it. So kind of come back to that original triangle. And just this corner here, nip right up into that. That gets you back in shape. And then just follow that through to make sure it blends up. Just a little bit here. And then I always block this camera, so just here, feel me here. You come in, stand in front of the client, or if you're in the mirror, you're gonna pull directly, standing right in front of the mirror, and bring everything to a point to make sure that it's lining up. I love it. And then what you could do is you could come in and texturize anywhere that needs to. I feel like you guys hate it when I texturize, so I don't wanna do it too much. She's looking nice. That's all personal preference. If you do texturize, I'll show you really quick. It's with your thinning shears, and you would just wanna come in, grab where you feel like it needs texturized, and come up into it at a soft, like point cut almost. You don't wanna come in and just boom, hit it, you're gonna create a line even though they're thinning shears and it's meant to soften it. Just do it ever so slightly. Start off with a little bit and then you can always take out more weight if you need to. So I'm gonna get her like perfectly styled with some hairspray and we'll get you guys out of here. All right, here we have our finished look. I am so jealous of this mannequin's hair. The face framing creates such beautiful shape and movement to this cut. So you've got a nice, lovely side swept feel with the bang area and overall just a lovely look with movement and flow all through the cut. Lots of movement in the sides, lots of movement through the back, but you can still get your hair pulled up back and away from your face with a little bit of a bang. The Time-O Air Hype Light will be linked below as well as a discount code, and I will see you guys on the next video. Take care.